with us in studio. We really fucked it up. Oh man, I do feel like a complete asshole.
Well, especially now. See, what's funny is that here's what I would say. Here's what I would say about it.
Yeah.
It's easy for you and I to sit here and say like we feel like assholes.
Yeah, it just creates content for the show. You're going to turn it into a story.
No.
We'll spend an hour talking about it.
No. We won't, because I don't want to. Tom,
would you rather hold it?
No, that sounds better.
Okay, yeah. That's a juicier mic there.
We believe.
I like juicy.
Here's what I would say real quick though. It's easy for us to say we fucked it up and we're assholes, but we didn't feel like we fucked it up or we're assholes in the moment. And that is what is the most fucked up about it.
Until you see me and go, oh my God.
Right.
There's our friend that we let down enormously.
Well, but how can we even say that if we didn't do what we said we were going to do for you? You know what I mean? It shows the value that we put into it. So, and we've never, in all the interviews that we've ever done, we've never had an awkward moment like this, and I feel like this is good. It's honest. It's real. But unless you don't want to talk about it, and
yeah, man, whatever.
I mean, I don't want to put you on tilt any more than we did already.
And I'm not trying to turn into like we're not shock jock radio show
fodder. No.
Yeah, we're like I don't care. Honestly, it's embarrassing to me and Daniel that, and I honestly think we don't think we're big. Like, I look at you as a international celebrity, and I justified in my head. I was like, well, he doesn't need us. Tom Rhodes.
I needed you more than anybody because you're in my hometown in Orlando. And last time I was here, I was having a really difficult time. I was going through my divorce.
Yeah.
You're asking me about my marriage, and then I tell you I'm getting divorced, and it was happening last time I was here. Yes. And then you have this kind of shutdown. You took the divorce harder than I did. And I feel like, wow, okay, that was an awkward moment in the show. And then, one of the reasons, this album that I made is I've been doing the international circuits for 20 years. And I had this idea for this album, and it took me 2 years to make it, traveling all over the world. It's 3 hours long. It's called Around the World. It's 40 tracks. I recorded it in 24 cities around the world. Starts in Paris, ends in Jerusalem. I told you all about it the last time I was here. I had just come back from Jerusalem and done the last tracks and everything.
Yes.
And I said, I don't have like massive followers like Joe Rogan and a lot of these other comedians, and I said, I could use you guys' help, just helping me get the word out to the Orlando people, because hopefully, somebody in my hometown gives a shit about me, and you guys are, yeah, we'll help you, and then I email you, and okay, the emails bounce back. And I was like, okay, well these guys are my friends, I can give them a call, and then I called you in February, and then I walk in here today and you go, yeah, man, sorry I didn't call you back. We were on a cruise. You were on a cruise in February and you didn't call me back for 10 months?
I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember what was happening with us at the time, but I remember.
Okay, let's go through so what was happening in March that you didn't have?
I don't. Yeah. I honestly.
You couldn't send me a text.
I know. There's no excuse for it.
What was happening in April?
Yeah, I think that's there
is no excuse for it.
I think that's what we're going to come up with.
I know you guys are looking through speedboat catalogs and picking out new furniture for the studio, and that's cool.
I honestly don't have the self-esteem to think. I honestly didn't think that. I
have a podcast.
Yeah.
I don't have the amount of listeners that you do. I don't have the equipment that you do. You guys, I thought we were friends. And I come in here every year and I give you all my best stories.
Yes.
I lay out everything I have in my life. And
you needed us.
I just asked you to help me get the word out about this album that cost me my marriage, cost me everything in my life. And,
It was.
And it's not like a comedian putting out, some bullshit. It's nobody has ever made a comedy album like this. I went to there's 2 Mongolia tracks.
Yeah.
A Beijing and Oslo and Berlin, and it's just I think it's the greatest thing I've ever done in my career. And I bring you guys my best stories every year. So
I know. There's no excuse for it. I don't even know how to make an excuse except to tell you that we would never. We would never. I mean, we would never purposely shun you.
I think you just say you're sorry and you hope to do better.
Well, all right. I'll tell you guys this. Okay.
Yeah.
Straight up, since I wasn't going to mention any of this, but
no. But I want to tell.
But I'll tell you another thing. It's like
the dicks.
I do these shows, like radio shows all over America and stuff, and like I'll tell you, the smallest little detail that means the world is when you've been doing somebody's show for years, and they come and see you live at the club. Yes. You guys have never even come and seen me live.
I know.
I come every year.
Yeah.
And I'm on your show, and once, can you come to my show and go, hey, man, Tom, we're supporting you, too. You support us every time.
I know.
That's like a secret little thing that I feel like when I've been doing somebody's show for years and they come to my show, I'm like, oh, my God, wow, they actually, it's not just some bullshit, I'm a guest thing.
Right.
Oh, the guy's actually my friend.
You know, Tom, I apologize personally because I always assume when people come in for interviews, they're just doing it because it's the media and this is what they do. I never really think that they care.
No, I had to do.
I honestly don't.
There's a show that I was supposed to do earlier this morning, and I told Krista, I don't want to. Please don't make me do that show because they don't know anything about me.
Yes.
I've done that show like 3 years in a row. They hustle me in and out. It's a show in Orlando.
Yeah.
And they don't even know anything about me. They've never even Googled me. And I go in, they ask me every year these generic questions.
Same shit, yeah.
What is your comedy about? How did you get started as a comedian? Those are the two questions that I think makes every comedian vomit. Because you're not thinking, you've put no effort in. It's the most generic thing you could ask somebody, And so I told her I don't get anything out of it. I don't want to do it.
Yeah. I totally understand. You know what, Tom, you're super smart and you care and you have feelings, and I apologize because I honestly think that when comedians come in here, it's like a business thing, and they're like, whatever.
Yeah, but
they're more callous.
Wrong.
Like,
that's wrong.
Yeah, I know. And you actually cared, and then we let you down, and I feel like a piece of shit. And I apologize.
Okay, well, I want to say thanks. I want to take this moment to the young woman who came and saw me in Atlanta, Georgia, last month, and she was by herself, and she said, hey, I love whenever you're on the Tom and Dan show, and I'm from Orlando, and I'm living in Atlanta now. And she came by herself, and I talked to her for a minute.
That's cool.
She was smart, attractive, and I was flattered that, I have a girlfriend now. I mean, it was, I'm not like, when I was younger, whatever, I wanted to meet girls after shows. But I was really flattered. But that is the first person who ever came up to me after a show and said, I heard you, I love you on Tom and Dan. So I just want to take this moment right now, that woman in Atlanta, Georgia, and say thank you so much for coming to my show. That really meant the world to me. And the fact that oh my God, somebody from Orlando gives a shit about me.
Yeah.
That really that really means the world to me. Yeah. So if you're listening to this show right now and you ever come to my show, please tell me you heard me on the Tom and Dan show. Because I'd love to see the effect of it.
I think I personally get jaded by the industry or the entertainment industry over years of doing
Why? You're not even in Los Angeles.
No, I know.
You're not even dealing with the hard shit that you have to deal with in entertainment.
I don't even think
you're not being rejected by the gatekeepers of entertainment. You are a gatekeeper.
Yeah. Well,
in the Orlando scene, you have a very popular show.
Yes, I just...
We never really think of it like that, though.
No, yeah.
But you are.
You're right.
Not the underdogs anymore.
I know. Yeah.
You guys are an established entity.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's it's like when a heavier person loses a ton of weight and you can never get yourself out of that. But I think I feel like that. I've always kind of felt like we're still climbing. Even though we might have achieved a certain level.
I never realized all I've done until someone I don't oh wow, God, they're really, I look up to you, whatever, because I always think I'm struggling as well. I can understand that,
and I understand what you're saying about thinking that we have less of an influence or that. You know,
it doesn't matter.
Or that we're just a name on the schedule and people come in and they just kind of go through the motions, which is kind of fucked up on our part to even assume that.
Yeah,
you know,
and honestly, and I never even actually took into account that people are sometimes serious when you're like, hey, come out to the show. I honestly would, in my mind, thought it was just something every comedian said.
Well, you know, like if somebody's from Chicago and they've played in Orlando once and they're saying, hey, come to my show. You know, and you know, I'm from here. I didn't even plan on talking to this.
I know.
Just do me a favor. I've had one person, that lovely, kind, intelligent woman I spoke to in Atlanta, tell me she heard me on the Tom and Dan show. If you come to my show and you've heard me on the show, please tell me.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes people, I think, forget how important that is because they assume, similar to like, I think you get in that mindset, you're like, oh, well, I'm not going to tell him that because he doesn't really care, you know, like, you know, and the people do care and you care and like, and, you know, we should have, you know, called you back for sure. And my mindset is like, I have such low self-esteem and I think the show's nothing. And like, you know, I'm like, it's like Tom Rhodes is famous. You know, he doesn't need us. Like, you know, he's fine. He's not even going to think about it. You know, he's just doing his normal promotion. And that is,
I don't have to do this show, Tom.
I know you don't. I know you don't. You're fine.
You know, the world is fucked up. Our country's fucked up. My family is fucked up.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I have my mom, who I just left a limited amount of time with her, to come and do your show, just like every year.
I know.
I have to, my limited amount of time at home, I've cut out time to come and do your show.
Yes, absolutely. And
return a phone call.
Yeah, 100%. And that is...
No, we probably won't get another one, so...
on us. And I honestly thought, I was like, oh, Tom's coming in.
I mean, I'm just assuming.
That's an accurate...
yeah. I'm just assuming that this might be the last time we see you, Tom. So I'm just so.
Oh no. I mean, I had expected to be all chipper and not talk about it.
I'd rather be. Well, for me, I know that this kind of stuff. If we're just playing our personalities, this kind of stuff really makes you uncomfortable.
No, I'm glad it happened.
I would prefer when we drop the ball. Which I try not to do it very often, but if I do, I would prefer to know about it. And
I mean, like, you know, I worked so hard on my podcast. I
listened to the last one with Josh Wolf. That was very good.
Very good guy. And you know, I don't have very many listeners, and I make exactly $280 a month from my Patreon people that support me on my podcast. Your couch is worth, this couch I'm sitting on is worth more than $280, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, like, you guys have a very fortunate, good situation. And, like, you know, you should look at all the people, like, you think I'm at certain level, but my podcast ain't doing shit. And I put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah.
You know? So, whatever. Hey, how about that weather?
No, it's all good, man.
And
at least it's real. That's what I say.
Here's the thing. This is how much of a pussy I am, and shows how much of a good person you are, Tom, is that you came in here and you told us. If it was me, I'd be like, fuck those guys. I'm not even going to do their show. And then just never talk about it again because I have an inability to go and tell someone, like, hey, this is how I feel. You fucked me. And, you know, I'd never say that to someone's face, and I appreciate you did to us.
I think that's the only way you can form a deeper relationship, though, is to have a certain level of honesty, right?
And
the way to do a deeper level relationship is to, be there for your friends.
I know.
Right. You know? And not ignore them like they're meaningless.
Right. You're right.
When they've never asked you for a favor and they've done something that took a lot of work.
What would you, other than call you back immediately, if you were in our position right now?
I just wanted you to tell your listeners that, you know, our boy from Orlando, Tom Rhodes, came out with a new album, and it's around the world, and it was recorded in 24 cities around the world.
Took you 4 years to make it, right?
Yeah.
4 or longer?
Well, the London track was 4 years ago, and then everything else was in the last 2 years.
What's your favorite track on it?
Almost Drowning in Thailand, because I almost died to get that story, and it's a great story.
Have you been everywhere yet?
No, I've never been to India.
Is there a specific reason why no India?
Well, I wanted to go to India, and then I guess it was the movie Slumdog Millionaire that kind of put the kibosh on that plan. I mean, if I could see my favorite Bollywood movie star, and then I'd have to run out onto a pier and jump into human waste to get his autograph, I think that was probably the...
Yeah. Now, your wife's been to India, right?
Yeah, she did say it was the only place she's ever seen that had the most extreme poverty mixed in with like extravagance. Like the
She's never been to Los Angeles?
yeah, you're right. Yeah, there is a bum camps there.
No, that is it. And I've seen extreme poverty in Vietnam and Cambodia, like South America. It's the street children that break your heart. You know, like I made a video. It's Tom Rhodes Explores Cambodia, and it was a lifelong dream to go to the temples of Angkor. And these street children. Well, first of all, everybody in Cambodia is missing a limb because there was so many landmines. So,
oh my God,
it's to be a sensitive person with a heart. I mean, it's I like to give people money, and there's only so many people you can help, and you see all these people who are have been through some serious shit, and then like the little wave of street children come up, and it's heartbreaking. I saw this burn victim girl in Cambodia, and I'll never get that image out of my head. And she came up to me, and like, I tears burst out of my eyes, and I gave her every cent in my pocket, and I just couldn't get the money out of my pocket fast enough. But these little kids that are at these other kids that run around the temples. I go, where are you from? It's on the video because I was filming. So if you watch this Tom Rhodes Explores Cambodia, you'll see it. So the girl goes, where are you from? I said, United States. She goes, it was a few years ago. She goes, President Obama. She's where in the United States? I said, I'm from Florida. She goes, capital Tallahassee. Oh, then she said the population of the United States, and then she said,
oh wow,
a quarter has 25 pennies, and then she goes to the dimes and nickels. And then I said Florida, and she said capital Tallahassee. These little kids,
knowledge,
amazing.
Yeah,
and they're they're begging for money in the temples. They're little geniuses.
Yeah. Who taught? Like, is that a schooling thing or is that a self-taught thing? A mom and dad? Like,
I don't know. Maybe the jungle mafia that's making them ask for money.
Right.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Tom, do you think the internet and social media has screwed up a lot of hidden gems in the around the world? As far as I think about this all the time, where
giving away locations.
This is there's no more secrets, and everybo's telling everybody like the cool places that used to be. It's good
like travel books. I stopped buying travel books years ago, but like. Well, Cambodia as an example, in the Lonely Planet guide, it says there's this one temple that you should go to at sunset. It's the best place to go for sunset. But that might have been written 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And you go there now, and everybody bought that Lonely Planet Cambodia book.
Right.
And, there's, thousands of tourists. And so I had the tuk-tuk driver take me back to Ta Prohm, which is the temple that's in the first Laura Croft Tomb Raider movie.
Right.
It's the temple with the tree growing on it.
Okay.
Because you go there in the beginning of the day, and that's swarmed with tourists. But you go there at sunset, everyone's at the Sunset Temple, and you got that one to yourself. So, I think the internet is still great for information because, like The Guardian, I love this paper out of England, always has great travel stuff. The New York Times, I love travel magazines. I mean, you can still find, nice restaurants and cool things to do.
What area do you feel like you know the least about, or maybe you're least interested in?
I'm in the Middle East. I went to Dubai. Dubai was a place I would never go back.
That's what everybody tells me.
Dubai it's Las Vegas without the fun stuff.
Yeah, and I heard it's quite depressing.
It's very depressing, and it is the visible human slavery that is hard to forget about. It's mostly people from India and the Philippines, and you see them being bussed around Dubai in old American school buses with bars on the window.
Yeah.
So whatever you hear about Dubai's this great place,
We saw a variation of that in where were we together? Remember when we saw the buses? I mean, they weren't jail buses, but they were definitely people that had been, brought in. It had that slavery vibe to it, and they were building. What was the name of the monstrosity in the? It might have been the Bahamas.
It was in the Bahamas.
It was all Asian
Bahamar,
people, and it just you could just tell it was not right.
They were shipping in
not right.
all their own workers.
Well, in Dubai they take their passports.
Right.
These people are basically kind of slaves.
Yeah.
And they have to earn off some certain debt. And then also everything is segregated in Dubai. There's a lot of expats that live there, but you'll see like the English hospital next to the Canadian hospital next to the American hospital. I guess in case you want your cancer diagnosis with less of an attitude, you go to the Canadian hospital. But it's like that. It's segregated in every way you could imagine.
We've talked to some people that have done like extreme travel challenges where they get dropped off somewhere in like South America, and they'll like walk to Rob Greenfield, a guy that we've had on the show. He does kind of like
he's just sustainable. Like he's off the grid, and he will not eat anything unless he is able to either gather it or grow it himself.
But he kind of does these like challenges.
He just hit a year, right?
Awareness.
Yeah. I want to say like a month.
Where's he living?
Orlando. He's great.
I have he died of a heart attack a few years ago, before weed was legal, unfortunately. This guy who was doing that in Mendocino County, he was from San Diego. He was a friend of mine, loved weed, moved up there, bought a piece of property in the mountains, and he made his own weed farm.
Nice.
And the guy dug out on the side of this mountainous area water sprinkler system. And so it was before weed was legal, so he spread the weed out on his property. Like, so when DEA helicopters are going over, they can see like a tree line. The weed was all along the tree line. Yeah. They're looking for big patch
concentration.
Fields, and this guy was totally off the grid. He had solar panels on the roof. He had a big tank that collected rainwater that was filtered, and he showered with it.
Crazy.
And like the dude was like one of those government paranoia people who just wanted to have a weed farm because he loved it so much.
Yeah. There's a certain piece that, like Rob, who lives here locally, he had his compost. He has a tiny home that somebody was allowing him to live in their backyard. Like in order to repay the person, the lady that was letting him live in the backyard, he would garden in her front yard and give her half the vegetables. So he was paying his rent that way. It's pretty dope. Like when you look at it, there's a certain level of peace that when I look at him, I'm like, he's happier than I'll ever be with all this.
You got the rent this month?
Garbage, yeah.
His bag of turnips.
It was exactly like that. I mean, truly, it was like sweet potatoes, stuff like that. He's just growing and giving away, and that's how he paid for things. But to me, it seems more relaxing than this.
Yeah, but one of the things he did with like one of these like publicity stunts raising awareness was like he walked from like Brazil or someplace out there, like 3,000 miles. He just went. And then during his travels, we were talking to him, and he's like, the most generous people in the world are the poorest. He's like
and the happiest.
And the happiest, and that's what he said.
The people. That's what I've learned traveling around the world. The people in the poorest countries are way happier than we are.
Yeah, I was going to ask you the demeanor of the burn girl who had the knowledge of
that was terrifying.
Like, that was bad? Like, because sometimes you see people that have, like, a disability or have something, but they're okay. They're happier than...
Oh, well, all right. You want to talk burn victims? I was in London about 6 years ago, and I was staying by, it's right on the Thames, but it's this area where BBC 4 is. There's the main BBC, radio and television. Sure. I know you guys don't know London, but then there's this, BBC 4 is separate, there's, several BBC channels. So I was staying in this area. I had never stayed in London before, and there was a hospital in that area, and walking around with my wife at the time in the neighborhood, and it was a sunny day, a rare thing to happen in England. And there was this burn victim girl. I'd say she was probably in her 20s, and she was on 2 crutches. Both of her legs had casts on them, and she had casts on her arms, and she had bandages all wrapped around her head, and like her face had been burned off, and she had the hugest smile on her face. And I thought, what a beautiful thing to have witnessed. Like, who knows how long it took that woman to get to that moment.
Right.
Who knows how long she was lying in a hospital bed dreaming of that moment when she would be well enough to walk on her own. And I could just, I mean, who knows what the story was, but I just pictured her like, you know, telling whatever nurse or doctor in the no, I don't need your help. I'm going to go out now and do this on my own, and I have to do this on my own. And she had the most happy, victorious smile on her face. It was like such a I felt privileged to have witnessed this achievement.
Makes you wonder if she was getting outside on those crutches to see the sunshine, or if she created it by even doing what she was doing.
Good point.
You know, like it's like
she willed it.
Yeah,
Tom,
that's cool.
What do you think about like the ability to make yourself happy? Because I have this theory that like people are wired. Some people are wired to be positive and to look at things positively, and that's just the way they were born. It's the way their brain operates, and it's hard for them to understand the opposite of the person that's like skeptical or maybe more negative, or hard to live happily or even make themselves happy. And then there's books and people like that are naturally happy write books about like, here's how to be happy. Yeah. And then like the rest of us or people are reading these books and like, why can't I be like, I'm trying to get myself in that mindset, but you're just wired differently.
Like that.
Yeah. Do you find
it's hard for me to be happy?
Is it do you think there's the ability to put yourself into a different mindset and be a happy person if you're not wired that way?
I mean, it's, you know, every day is different. There's a different set of circumstances. I've been luckier than most people because I've gotten to do what I love in life. And even when I was struggling in the early years, not making any money, like I used to have to hitchhike to gigs. I didn't have a car.
Yeah.
And I started out in Orlando. I'd hitchhike to gigs all around Florida, do one-nighters and stuff, tough bar gigs. And then I did the southern circuits, and I would have to take Greyhound buses. And it was just, like, miserable. But, like, I was happy. I was living this adventure. And I think, you know, if you look at life that way, but then, like, you know, so I, you know, and I like being creative. That makes me happy. So as always, I've been able to, like, write or draw, or it's just making things makes me happy. So I've kind of always had that as a secret weapon. But things happen in your life, you know. My father was killed by a drunk driver in 2009. I know you can't handle bad news, Tom. My sister died of breast cancer in 2011. Those are really difficult. And, like, I had lost all joy in life for 2 years after my sister died.
Yeah.
So things like that. And then, like, you overcome things like that. I mean, every day's a struggle, man. Like when Tupac says, you know, if you can make it through the night, there's a brighter day.
Yeah, what did you set your happy list?
So I started that years ago. I needed to get back on that.
I use it's great.
There's I had an 8th grade teacher, English teacher, sent me an email years ago and said she was going to assign that to her kids as a writing project.
It's great.
So like little things like that, when you realize you have a small effect. Some English teacher, the woman in Atlanta who came and saw me, that meant the world to me.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I'm from Orlando. God damn, to know somebody's cheering for you?
Yeah.
You know, you've had one effect on somebody, and or to inspire them to be a comedian or creative person or whatever. But, like, there's so much shit that you have to deal with, and setbacks and breakups and divorce, heartbreak, death in the family. So even if you're a happy person, there's just shit that, like, is always robbing you of your happiness. Like now, you know, I won't go into it, but, like, I have an older brother who has cheated me out of money and physically attacked me. I haven't spoken to him in 5 years, and he's a massive Christian and goes to church every day. And he's been very unchristian to me. And, like, our family is fucked up and we can't be together at Christmas because I can't be in the room with this guy.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're asking me these questions and it's like you have no idea how complicated the fabric of life is. And, you know, I can come in here and be all cheerful and, you know, tell you, oh, yeah, man, just, you know, whatever. Read some self-help book and do what you follow your heart and all that shit. Yeah. It's fucking bullshit. You got to have the right friends because your family isn't always going to be there for you. I mean, like, my mom is my rock, and she's always been there for me.
Me too.
She's the person that I am. She made me the person I am in life, why I'm thoughtful, why I'm sensitive, and, you know, you got your small little army of people in your life that are meaningful to you and that give you fuel and energy. And I get fuel and energy when I come back to Orlando. It reminds me of who I am as a person. And I see my oldest friends in life. I see my mom, my niece Christina I'm really close with. She's an awesome person. And, she's been through a lot of stuff in her own life. And, you got to protect yourself and make your own happiness in this life, because it can be snatched from you at any time. And there's people in your life who are the ones that are supposed to be, on paper, the ones who are looking out for you are the ones that could disappoint you and break your heart the most.
Sure. This all comes back to us, doesn't it, Tom? Yeah.
Not everything's all about you.
I'm just bad jokes.
But, it's
no joke Friday.
I'm sorry.
I'll tell you this, Tom. Love is an action. It's not a word. You can say you love flowers all day long. If you don't get your flowers sunshine and water, you don't love flowers.
Yeah. You're right.
Love is an action. It's not a word.
My wife tells me this all the time, Tom, and I feel like this is a major problem that I have.
What, that you can't love things?
Do you own your own house?
Yeah.
I rent.
Well, I feel like you're in a better position because I'm upside down crazy.
Yeah, I know. I realize how tough things are for you, Tom.
No. Tom, I feel like this is the reason. I know. I'm intimidated by you. Seriously. Because last time.
Well, why are you intimidated by it?
Because I can't tell where the jokes and the seriousness begins with Tom. That's what the awkwardness last year when you were telling me.
You asked me about my marriage. I told you I was in the middle of a divorce.
And then you laughed.
And then I laughed awkwardly because I thought you were making a joke, and then it became even more awkward. Then you remembered it, which tells me that it actually was as awkward as I thought.
Oh,
yeah. So this is
a great memory.
Well, you didn't.
You didn't.
You didn't take the news very well.
No, I know.
Well, you don't like awkward.
I don't, and I can't sometimes tell.
I was trying to deal with it as best as I could. I was going through tremendous heartbreak the last time I was here.
I know.
And I come in here and be cheerful on your show.
Yes.
Tell you my best stories, traveling the world.
Yes.
All my,
And then we fucked you over.
But before the fuck you over part, you had this meltdown over me telling you I was getting divorced.
Because I can't tell.
And it's and you got a happy family. You own a house.
Well, that wasn't.
You're married. How many kids you got?
I had 2 kids.
Oh, that's great.
They're beautiful.
How much do you make off of Patreon a month?
No, we don't have a Patreon.
But we have a subscription service.
Samantha has a Patreon.
Yeah.
Stinking rich.
How's that going for you?
You just got a new patron.
Hey,
that's always good when you got somebody who supports you.
Yeah.
I have an inability when I'm talking to a smart person that has a dry sense of humor. I can't tell whether they're joking. It's my kryptonite. I'm just is it real? Is it a joke? Is it sincere? Is it and I don't know. And that's
Hey everybody! I came up with an album. It's called Around the World. And if you're from Orlando, and you can travel without even leaving the house. You don't have to go to the airport. You could download my album and listen to it.
Yep.
Tom, have people been trying, or have any of you reached out to you saying that they're going to try to hit every place that you performed on your album as a goal?
I don't think anybody could.
No, no one has ever reached out to me saying that.
Well, you would need so much time, right?
It would be impossible.
Yeah,
it'd take so much money. I've been able to do it because I could set up gigs, and then the gigs pay for the hotel and the travel and stuff. Not all of them. Like Paris doesn't pay very much money. You go there because you want to be in Paris.
Is the vibe in Paris good, for comedy? Do they have a scene?
Great English-speaking expatriate scene there. Yeah. And then French people. It's really exciting. And then English-speaking French people who love. And it's true. The French comedians steal jokes.
Really?
I'm friends with a lot of great French comedians, but there are other French comedians that'll go to English language shows, or they've been busted for pulling stuff off the internet. Maybe somebody came out with a video where they showing these French comedians,
really?
And they're on television in France or French Netflix. doing a Chappelle bit or a Chris Rock bit word for word. And before the internet, you could do that. You could get away with it.
Right.
You know? But like Japan, Tokyo is like that too. I really love playing in Tokyo because you'll have half the audience is really interesting expatriate people from everywhere. Switzerland, Italy, Germany, and then, you know, all the English-speaking countries. And then half the audience is English-speaking Japanese people who love English-language comedy. And I think that's really cool.
With those comedians in the different countries, does everybody want to kind of emulate America's comedy scene, or?
Well, stand-up comedy was invented in the United States. Yeah. It's one of the few American true art forms, like jazz. And in my opinion, Mark Twain was the first stand-up comedian. He gave a lecture in San Francisco on the Sandwich Islands, which we now call Hawaii. I think the date was October 23rd, 1866, was the birth of stand-up comedy when he gave this lecture. They were funny, they were full of jokes, and then he developed his stage show. He would come out and look at the audience. I'm a huge Mark Twain fan, and he'd size up the... I feel like I should hold back on some of these stories.
If you'd like, I mean, it's.
I mean, actually, I think I give you guys too much good content.
You don't have to. Hey, whatever you want to do, man. I mean, like,
I'm just fucking with you.
Look, you're driving.
I can't tell now.
You're driving.
I'm out.
So Mark Twain.
I'm not taking myself out. I fucked this up too much.
Mark Twain.
We were just talking about Twain because you used to work at a sandwich restaurant, and all the black people that you worked with used to call you Twain because it's the whitest thing they can think of, right?
Yeah.
That's a true story. They used to call him Twain.
Wow. Mark Twain called it platform speaking, and he hated doing it, but he worked on it like a comedian, and he would cut lines that didn't work, and then he gave it up, never wanted to do it again, but he was such a terrible business person. He had all this money, but he did bad investments. He really lost his ass on... There was this new printing press that he dumped all this money into. He had loads of tragedies. His brother died... burned up on a Mississippi steamboat.
Was he a captain?
They weren't captains. I think there was they were something right under the cap.
Wasn't it the guy that?
Mark Twain was supposed to be on that boat, and his brother went instead, and his brother burned up.
Oh my God! So death plus guilt, Jesus.
Yeah, and then so he lost all the money on this printing press, and there was other stuff. Like, he was one of the first people. Alexander Graham Bell. Was going to give him a big part of the telephone, the patent or whatever, and he said the only people that would use it would be me and the president. He saw no future in the telephone.
Really?
And so, like, that alone could have made him one of the wealthiest men in the world.
Right.
So he had to go on this worldwide lecture tour. There's a brilliant book, and it's called Chasing the Last Laugh, and it's all about Mark Twain's worldwide tour. And I think that's, I love that book so much because I identify with what I've done in my own life. And so, and essentially, you should always listen to your wife because his wife told him, whatever you do, tell the story about Tom Sawyer on the raft floating down the river with the runaway slave Jim. Because, like, if you don't know the story... You know, he runs away, and Jim goes with him, or he meets up with Jim, and there's these white guys are hunting him, and then Jim's hiding in some bushes on the river, and these white guys are like they're gonna kill Jim when they find him, and Mark Twain or Tom Sawyer is thinking, you know, in church they're always saying do the right thing and do it, and he goes against what the church has told him in his head. Because he knows that Jim is his one true friend, and that he doesn't want to give up his friend, so he lies and he says that's my dad, and he's got like cholera or some illness, and everybody's afraid of getting this disease, so they go off, and that's the one story that like rocked.
And his wife told him.
His wife said, whatever, because he's working on what stories am I going to tell for the tour, and he wants to do some kind of theme, and she's like, fuck themes. Fuck whatever you do, just make sure you tell that story.
Right.
And he played everywhere. He played in India. He played in Israel. He hated Jerusalem. He wrote all about that in Tramps Abroad or Chasing the Equator. This guy, he played in Pakistan and friggin' everywhere.
At the time, nobody is. Even,
seats didn't even have cushions then.
Right.
Your ass is on like a wood plank on a wagon to get somewhere.
It'd be interesting to see like numbers of people, how many people he was playing for.
Well, they were selling places out, and so he was on the road. So he was gone for 2 years, and he had gone bankrupt. He didn't have to pay back his debts, but he felt as a Christian, his wife was such a strong Christian that he should pay his debts.
Right.
So even though he did not legally have to pay his debts, he paid off every last dime. But while he was going on this 2-year tour, his daughter died.
Oh my God.
This guy had like so many tragedies in his life that he had to overcome, and like just fuck ups and failures.
Did this inspire you for Around the World?
No, I mean I was already doing around. I mean I've been doing the international circuits for 20 years.
Yeah, for forever. But I wondered if because it sounds. I mean,
I had the idea for it because he's one of my one of the prophets in my religion, and my religion is comedy.
Yeah,
and my political party is comedy. It's all I care about. Fuck everything else.
Yeah.
And you look how divided things are now. Like, why would anybody say, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat? You're a fucking friend. You're a husband. You're a son. Fuck these, like, these labels and, all this shit.
Help.
What's it matter?
Yeah.
10, 20 years from now, and your favorite people in life are going to be dead, and you're like, oh, God, I was mad that, the fucking Tangerine Menace had... sold our country out.
Yeah. Well, Tom, do you
just
feel
learn Russian? Is all I'm telling you.
I often feel that nothing matters, and I need to quit living my life like this, especially with my sons and stuff. Like I can't let that bleed into because I realize this is bleeding into my personal relationships and stuff where I'm just like, what does it matter? I don't put any value to much because I'm like realize my life is short. We're all going to be dead anyway. I know it's like a nihilistic way to think, but I'm just like, just live, be happy for yourself, my kids, and But the problem is, I put very little value into things that I should put more value into.
That's how you prioritize things.
Yeah, right? And so. Do you find yourself often thinking like, fuck it, life's like we'll all be dead in 100 years. Everybody we know will be dead in 100 years. What does it even matter?
You don't strike me as a person that thinks like that because I think you grab things like you're all about like life experiences and getting as much out of it as humanly possible.
And art and human relationships. And then
I didn't know you drew. I didn't know that drawing or painting or I didn't know that.
Yeah, I like to paint too. Yeah, I love to paint.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't get to do it very often. And then I'm working on a book about my travels around the world, inspired by the album. I'm going to write all my best stories of traveling in the world. I'm about to finish the Israel story because I took my mom there.
I remember that. Yeah,
we talked about it the last time.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come out with that book next year. I won't bother you guys with it.
No, we deserve that. You just got to take it and understand that it's deserved.
But like the thing I was like, my hardcore Christian brother who's physically attacked me thinks that because I'm like a left-wing person, I don't deserve regular human dignity. Or the Christian moral code of conduct.
We have a little bit of that in my family too. Yeah,
and I think that's a big thing now, and especially so many very strong believing Christians are so full of hate now.
Oh yeah,
and even against their own family, because they have different opinions.
Yeah, silly stuff.
Who gives a fuck what your political opinion is? And and I think it says repeatedly in the Bible, love your brother. I forget what the point of this was.
You're just, what's the point of anything?
But I mean, you're talking about life and, life is short and whatever. It's like, I mean, so many people ruin the right now. You can't, you got to carve out your own happiness and, why let all this shit affect you.
I agree.
Where are you going to end up living your last days, Tom? You think where you going to end up retiring? Florida.
Yeah.
Where you started?
I love Florida.
Yeah.
Any particular part other than Orlando that you would like to come
you know what?
That's pretty good.
I see Key West a lot.
That's
on
a good
happiness. I was really deep diving your happiness list. By the way,
Key West. Okay, then you're a great algorithm reader. If you were like the Amazon Netflix algorithm, you just pulled out a really good. I mean, like, New Smyrna Beach is one of my favorite places in the world.
It's awesome,
but it's kind of there's a lot of people living there, and like the property is going up.
Congested.
It's gotten very congested. There's a lot of secret places in. I really love Sarasota. I think Sarasota's
awesome.
Beautiful beaches there. I mean, I love the beaches in the Panhandle, but I would never live up there.
They're so pretty. But
I think some of the prettiest beaches in the state.
They're amazing.
Beaches the color of cookie dough.
My mom has a little single wide in St. Augustine, and I've always thought that that's where I would like to.
So I've thought a lot about it, and I think and like Key West is so unaffordable, but there's all those other keys.
Yeah.
So I think I'd love to have a place in somewhere in the Keys, but to be honest with you, I love Orlando, and the thing I love the most about Orlando is our freshwater lakes. And, like, that's the thing in Orlando, man. If you're having a problem, and it's like I've been coming back here through years, and, like, you have struggles in your life and your career, and I've had so many setbacks and things that have happened, but, I come back to Orlando, and I lick my wounds, I recharge, and it's always like to be able to sit by a lake and, like, just be centered and see the reflection of these amazing skies with these low-hanging, puffy clouds with just the magnificent oranges and yellows and reds on the sunsets and, like, reflected on a still lake. I mean, that kind of thing centers me and reminds me, like, God damn, I'm from Orlando, Florida, and this is a beautiful, amazing place.
Yeah.
Or, like, to be able to water ski with some friends. So, like, I hope I'm wealthy enough that I can have a place in the Keys and Orlando. But if I only had one choice, I think I will be ending my life in Orlando, Florida.
Well, there you go.
Well, that's a pretty big endorsement for Florida and Orlando, coming from a guy that's seen the entire world.
The entire world,
yeah.
But not India.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean,
no, and I that's the thing. I've had people, shit on Orlando. Traveling, we
get that a lot.
Traveling the world, and you tell people you're from Orlando, Florida, no one is ever impressed. I went there once, thought it sucked. Well, where'd you stay? International Drive. Did you go to Little 500 in Maitland? Did you go to Gatorland? You didn't see Orlando.
Yeah.
Did you water ski? Did you sit on a little pier, little dock on a lake? I was in London one time in this private club for filmmakers and actors. It's called the Groucho Club in Soho in London. It's about like 20 years ago. And so everybody had talked about where they're from, and I said I was from Orlando, and this guy was some filmmaker, and he was talking about how he had learned his craft in the Prague School of Filmmaking, the Czech school. And he very condescendingly across the table says to me, "Let me guess, you went to the Orlando school?" I said, as a matter of fact, I did, motherfucker. I did go to the Orlando school. Orlando is why I'm the person I am.
Yeah.
You're fucking pretentious.
Well, there's so many talented people because
and nobody knows that guy's name today.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. Well, hey, man.
He had his little hatchet moment.
Again, because of everything that happened, thank you for coming in and talking to us, man.
Was it
and
over?
setting us straight.
Well, we can still talk. I just now...
you guys feel bad now. You're going to hustle me out.
No.
It's going to be like that hip-hop station. I don't want to do it.
No.
I don't want you to feel like because you've always come in here and given us great stories, and I love the conversation with us. That's why, I mean, me and Daniel feel like pieces of shit. I will now make it my mission to do whatever I can to make it up to you, because that's not the people we are. Like, we go out of our way to try to help everybody we can, and for whatever the fuck reason, we dropped the ball, we fucked it up, and it's not the people who we are. It's like we don't do this to people, and especially to people that considered us friends, which I feel horrible about, and I know Daniel does too. I want to urge our listeners to buy your album.
Around the world.
And
TomRhodes.net.
I will personally...
Is that the easiest way to snag it?
iTunes, Amazon. It's wherever you...
It's all over Amazon.
Yeah.
Everything's on Amazon.
I will personally buy your album today and sign up to your Patreon, and I'll put it out there.
That's good.
If anybody...
What are you going to do, Golden Buddha level?
Whatever the highest level is, I will do it. And
you get a postcard. And the Golden Buddha level, people, it's $20 a month. Yeah. And... it was my.
I like the questions answered made me laugh because I was, or movie review made me laugh because I was like, movie review.
That's only happened on a couple of episodes, so there's only a few people have taken advantage of that. But it's my now ex-wife had the brilliant idea that if you're the $20 Golden Buddha, that's the highest level, I send you a personal handwritten postcard once a month.
Awesome.
And so that's pretty cool. And I've sent people postcards from Mongolia and Israel, everywhere.
Where's next stop? Like exotic?
I'm kind of dialing back the travel. I'm going to go to Japan this year again. Next year, I want to go to Brazil. And then I've become friends with Rafinha Bastos. He's the most famous comedian of Brazil. He's the Bill Hicks of Brazil.
Oh, shit.
He had an interesting story. He was on a television show, and he made a joke, and his career kind of collapsed in Brazil.
From that joke he told?
From the joke, and this famous actress, singer sued him.
Oh, no.
He had to pay like $250,000 US for this fine, or for the lawsuit. So he moved to L.A. like a year and a half ago, and he's become one of my best friends. He just moved to New York City, but he owns a comedy club in Sao Paulo.
Oh, wow.
So,
where Kaka's from, who played for Orlando City. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Is Kaka no longer with Orlando?
He left Orlando City to go back, and I think was doing some work with the Sao Paulo, their main club.
Oh, great.
I think it is called Sao Paulo. Like, I think it's...
there's a few clubs in
but I think it's the namesake one, and I don't know if he was investing there, but that's where, even Flavio Augusto da Silva, everybody that owns Orlando City basically comes from Sao Paulo.
Gotcha.
Cool. And I'm going to, I'll come out with probably another world album later in the future. I did a tour of England, Ireland, and Scotland in May and June, a theater tour. A friend of mine asked me to open for him, which was really incredible. I played at Shepherd's Bush Empire in London, which was, Charlie Chaplin played there in 1906. Prince, the Rolling Stones, the Who, everybody's played there. Played the Dome in Brighton, where first place Pink Floyd ever played Dark Side of the Moon live. David Bowie, 1972, urged the audience to riot and rip up the chairs. He was banned for life. Wow. And the Dome in Brighton is part of Brighton Pavilion, which Hitler told his pilots not to bomb because he was going to make that his summer palace after he had conquered England.
Jeez, oh, shit.
I played at Ulster Hall in Belfast, which is the first place Led Zeppelin played Stairway to Heaven live. I got to play all these amazing venues. So I recorded those shows. I'm about to edit my next album, which I'll probably come out with early next year, and I'm going to call it The Honky Motherland. And that's from the England, Ireland, and Scotland things. But like Tokyo and Brazil, that who knows, maybe that'll come out on the box set when I'm dead or something, Nice. But other than that, I'm going to try and dial back the international stuff and focus mostly. I just want to the next, I think, few years, I really want to focus on Los Angeles, New York, and London, because those are the capitals of English language comedy. And like I said, comedy is my everything. It's always been there for me, and it's what I love in life, and making jokes and inventing them. And even if it's at a club level on a Wednesday night with 20 people in the audience, I know I wrote these jokes. They're mine. I live and die by them. And, there's more important things than, fucking punching your brother because he thinks gay people are human beings.
You can't do that. You can't do that.
Where can people find your podcast, Tom?
Good question. It's TomRhodes.net.
Yeah.
You can find anything.
I got it
it's
on
everywhere.
TomRhodes.net.
It's on iTunes. It's on Stitcher. It's everywhere podcasts are found. It's called Tom Rhodes Radio Smart Camp. When I've interviewed a lot of people around the world, but also I'll do things that I'm constantly reading books. I love knowledge. That's another thing that gets me off, other than being creative. So things that I'm into, like I did one on the Chasing the Last. You don't have to read that book, Chasing the Last Lap. You could just listen to the podcast I did about it. I did a 3-part episode on the French Revolution. That's one of my historical obsessions. There's so many amazing characters. This woman, Charlotte Corday, from Caen. She was 19 years old. She'd never been to Paris before. And she thought that Marat was the reason that the French Revolution had turned bloody. And she sold everything, didn't even tell her parents where she was going. And she went to Paris and stabbed this dude to death while he was in his bathtub. And there's a famous painting by David of Marat in the bathtub. And I thought he was writing a letter. He's got a quill pen in one hand and a piece of paper. It's a famous painting. You've seen it. So many interesting people like that. So I'm gearing up. I'm a big Henry Miller fan, especially the Rosie Crucifixion trilogy, which is Sexus, Nexus, and Plexus. Eddie Pepitone and I are going to do record an episode next month on that. Oh, wow. So I'll do special episodes on books that I'm reading. And
it's cool that you blend the history thing.
I'm a big Voltaire freak. Voltaire and Mark Twain are my greatest heroes. And Bill Hicks and Richard Pryor and comedians and stuff. So I did an episode on Voltaire, and so I mean, if you scan through, I've been doing the podcast for 10 years now. So there's not just great comedians and then also worldwide comedians.
There's all kinds of stuff on there.
There's all kinds of great informative episodes I've done about different books.
And he's Genghis Khan?
I did an episode on that episode is called Genghis Tom. Did it because I recorded it in Mongolia, and it was I had read Genghis Khan's biography before I went to Mongolia. And then the Mongolians love if you know anything about their history because they feel like they're so remote in the world. And I did an entire episode on Mongolia and the impact that Genghis Khan still has on the world today. Yeah. Genghis Khan is the reason we wear pants. Europeans,
I didn't know that.
Europeans wore robes and their balls were flopping around, but the Mongolian horse soldiers wore pants. And then they got pretty far into Europe, edges of Germany, but Europe was a muddy backwater of poverty. It wasn't even developed yet. So they didn't go that far into it. But they got the idea for pants. Ice cream. The daily ration of the Mongolian warrior was this dairy curd. And they put it under their saddles, and the constant pounding of the saddle and the freezing cold temperatures created something like ice cream. And then somebody got the idea to put some pistachio in it, some vanilla. I'm kidding. And then Marco Polo took the recipe for ice cream to Italy, and then ice cream spread to the rest of the world. So the Mongolians gave us pants, ice cream, and my favorite word in the English language is hooray.
Hooray!
Hooray! That comes from ancient Mongolia. They would end prayers. That was like their amen. And then in celebrations, they would also yell. It was hooray! And then through the bastardization of travel and time in the English language, it became hooray. Yeah. So pants, ice cream, and hooray comes from Mongolia. So,
I love it.
So like things like that, I put a lot of effort into my podcast. It's like, what do you have to do to get any listeners? What do you have to do to afford furniture?
No, that was on sale.
Okay.
And my wife used to work there, so we got a deep dive discount on that. Right. That might have been a factory second. I might have actually replaced that leg.
So go check out Tom Rhodes' podcast.
2 shows tonight. 2 shows tomorrow, 1 on Sunday, right?
If you heard me on the show, please tell me you heard me on the Tom and Dan show.
Yes.
I would really appreciate it.
It matters, and
I'd love to know that I've all the times I've been on here, I attracted more than one person.
I know.
Because no one has ever come up to me after a show and said, I heard you on the Dan and Tom show. It happened once in Atlanta, Georgia.
It maybe only one.
In Atlanta. that might be it. That might be our lady.
Shout
out to her.
Yeah, shout out to her.
It could be Bernadette. Yeah,
that's who I'm thinking.
Yeah, it might be Bernadette.
Yeah, we know all.
The fact that we know her,
it's not a good sign.
That wasn't her name.
It's all a facade, Tom. Our parents are rich. They bought us all this shit.
Well,
I mean, I hope this didn't,
No. You taught me a lesson. I honestly, I
wasn't angry when I got here.
No.
We weren't trying to make you angry.
Yeah, I mean, but I wasn't angry, and I had no intention of bringing it up. But since you brought it up,
we had to talk about it.
Fair enough. I mean, who are your friends in life, and who are the people that are just blowing smoke up your ass?
That is
well, in that case,
a valuable lesson.
We were blowing smoke.
Yeah.
There's no other way to cut it.
Which
So what are you guys doing this weekend that you're going to be too busy to come to a show and show that you actually appreciated all the times I've been on your show?
Probably going to be upset. I'm doing Christmas with my
That's okay.
my wife's family. So
on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Well, on Saturday we are
spread across 3 nights.
On Saturday we are.
I'm leaving right after the show down to Miami, where my wife and my family and grandma live.
Another cruise ship?
No,
I'll ask my wife and see if we can come out, but I don't want to promise anything to you because we already let you down once.
Tom, I honestly,
you got plans. You got plans.
I think last February we were worried our business was failing. I think there was some. Samantha, can you?
We always think it's failing.
There was some bad thing that was happening to us, but anyway, there's no excuses.
There might have been some sponsor losing.
There was no excuse. I know.
I know. He's not buying it.
In February, you thought the business was failing. And then what was the excuse for March, April, May, June, July?
Yeah, there are no excuses.
Yeah, there's just not one.
Like,
I'm okay with just saying there's not one.
Hey, man, this is Tom. I sent you guys emails. The emails aren't going through. Hey, listen, my album came out that I told you all about. Hey, man, give me a call back. You guys said you promoted it. I just want the Orlando people to know that I got this thing, and it means a lot to me, and it took a lot of hard work. Thanks. Call me back. Bye.
I know. What a dickhead I am.
I think that's but that's the great thing about texting. If you don't want to call somebody back, you don't actually have to call. You can just text them and say, "Hey, man."
But we didn't do that either.
Yeah. That is,
I think it's a good place to end. Just end on the. I feel like we didn't text, we didn't call. And we can't come out this weekend because we're doing, holiday shit. And I think this. I don't know about you guys. I feel confident.
How much money did you guys make off of the advertising?
I think we turned this all the way around.
Yeah. We will not put any commercial.
How many commercials?
No, we will put no commercial in front of this.
What, a commercial in front of this? No, there's no commercial in front of this.
I
don't know what to say at this point.
That's okay, man. You guys, I appreciate everything you've done for me in the past. I hope you didn't make you feel too uncomfortable.
No.
It's the holidays, and it's Jesus loves all of us.
I think that's it.
Well, if you do see Tom this weekend, tell him that you heard it on here, because it makes it difference.
It would help. And you can get your tickets at theimprovorlando.com. That's the easiest way to get those.
Yeah, and I'm Bill Burr. My podcast is on the All Things Comedy Network. Bill Burr is producing specials now, and he wants to film my next hour special next year. So
that's awesome.
It'll probably be on Comedy Central or HBO, and so the material I'm doing now is trying to gear up and perfect that hour that will be my next hour special.
Awesome. So Tom, I know you're tired of hearing it, but I apologize again, and hopefully.
Well, now we have to work to repair the relationship. Yeah. That's what you do.
We could help you out. And
all you can do, right? Is try to be better than you were before.
Yeah. And I honestly, if there's anything I could do to help you with your podcast, I've learned the business side of podcasting. I'm glad to do it. I've helped other comedians.
Well, I don't know how to get to your level. I don't know. Like, you want to be self-deprecating. Like, we were worried about the business. Like, in my mind, you guys are crushing it. Like, if I could get to a level where God, to have your own little studio and a mic set up. I mean, like, I look at you guys like, wow, you guys have a very successful. You have no other jobs or incomes, right?
This is it.
This is it.
And we got full-time employees, and
you have employees.
Yeah.
And
Samantha Travis, he's hiding.
Like I said, I work my ass off on my podcast, and I look at you as something I would aspire to have half of what you have.
Well, thank you very much. This is a weird thing because we're kind of running it like a local radio station, almost the business side of it, because we have a lot of mostly local audience. But anyway, this is a conversation for a different time. But I'd be glad to sit down and talk to you just about advertising and things that we've learned throughout the years of podcasts. And I'm convinced that if your podcast has 1,000 listeners or even less than that, 500.
I'd say 500. You're good.
You can make money off of that, and it could be.
Well, I have a really small group of loyal people.
Yeah, that's all you need.
And then all the people that my Patreon people through the years have become my really good friends. Like, I've gone to those towns and I've met those people. And then, some people, this guy out of Minneapolis, God, he's seen me in Sydney, Australia, Bangkok. He flew to Oslo, Norway. The guy's become a friend. I mean, because my little small group of my core people is so small, I can actually, be friends with them and, come to their house for dinner.
Yeah.
Let's
cool.
hang out in Oslo, Norway.
That's cool.
That's the cool thing about podcasting is the engagement level of the people that do listen is higher than I've ever seen with any other media form because it's such a personal experience.
Well, it's intimate. It's like I think it's closer to books than we were with radio. Like it's or like an audio book type of thing.
Yeah.
And the conversations are real. Like when I was listening to you and Josh Wolf, the way that you started the show was really cool in that I'm just assuming from what I was hearing that he was just kind of looking at what books you were reading or like your
I wasn't
library.
ready to. Yeah,
and I like that.
I have 4,000 books in my living room, and I love books. I love vinyl records. So when I travel around the world, and especially like in America, God, you get a plate, man. You go to like Huntsville, Alabama, or Kansas City, and Omaha, Nebraska. It's jackpot. They don't know the value of things and places. Like a Led Zeppelin record in Los Angeles is $100.
Yeah.
You find it for like $8 in Omaha.
Right.
Or but like just gems.
And it's not a reissue, right?
A lot of people don't read books anymore. Books are one of my favorite things in life. And so I'm constantly reading books and when I travel I like to go to used bookstores and used record stores. And so Josh and he'd come over, we were going to record that podcast, and he was marveling at my book collection. I thought, well, fucking intro, let me just hit record. And so he was just like, some people don't read and they're blown away by, the presence of more than 2 books in someone's house.
Right.
I met John Waters a couple weeks ago. John Waters is the iconic gay film director.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pink Flamingos, Pretty Baby. And he's also written a lot of great books. He wrote a book a few years ago about hitchhiking across the United States.
It's really good in the Divine documentary. I thought that was cool.
Divine made his career.
Yeah.
And I follow his Instagram, and he's still honoring Divine made his career. He's from Baltimore. And Divine, I don't know if Divine was from Baltimore, but this, heavy-set, older man, transgender drag queen, and that's what they were, drag queens then.
Sure.
That's what they proudly called themselves, made his career. I'm a huge John Waters fan, and he was at the Comedy Store in Los Angeles a few weeks ago, and I can't believe I got to meet one of my heroes.
What'd you think? Like, was it...
Beautiful guy. So I stood in line to get my picture taken with him, just like anybody else.
Sure.
And I got at the end of the line so I could have a minute with him. And I said, I have 4,000 books in my living room, and I often think of your famous quote. John Waters said, if you go to someone's house and they don't have any books, don't fuck them. And I said that to him, and he said, and his eyes lit up and they sparkled, and he goes, I've added to that. If you go to someone's house and they have books in their bathroom, don't fuck them. So I went home that night and removed the books I had in my
That's what I'm thinking about right now. I've got a lot of books in my bathroom. I will remove those.
I feel like I was just talking to Daniel about I listen to a lot of books, but it's not the same experience. That's
It's not at all the same.
Can't really read very well, so Florida education, all that.
Well, I think he knows that.
Yeah, swamp people.
Well, thank you again, man. I hope you enjoy some time with your mom. And
thanks. I'm going right back. Oh, I want to say this because whatever. I'm going to be back in July.
Nice.
The city of Oviedo. I grew up in Oviedo. This guy, there's a comedy gig in Oviedo, and
what's the club?
I don't know. It's it's the city. There's a recreation center.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm going to go out there today and look at the venue. The guy and me and my mom's going to go out there.
You're going to do it on your own?
My mom and I are going to go walk around Lake Charm, and I love Oviedo. I've never performed in Oviedo.
It comes up on the happiness list a lot.
I did stand up. The only time I ever performed in Oviedo was at Oviedo High School. I hosted the pep rallies. I hosted the talent shows, and my favorite teacher was Mr. Martin. And he was the speech and drama teacher. And a lot of other teachers had penalized me. They heard that I was a troublemaker or whatever, that I would make jokes. And there was a little stage in this drama speech class. And Mr. Martin, Mintrell Martin, I believe he was gay. It never came out. But just he had a really cool style. And he wore these pink suede boots. And he told me he would give me the first 5 minutes of every class to tell jokes, to do my comedy. And then I let him have his class back. And if I was ever interruptive in his class, he would never give me that privilege again. And I was the most well-behaved child in that class. And he encouraged me to be a comedian. And so Is
he still around?
He is still alive. I've interviewed him about 10 years ago, and then and I just called him 2 years ago just to tell him what a huge impact he had on my life. Because and then in speech and drama, he taught you how to build an argument, and that all stories should build up and have an ending.
Okay.
And I told him a lot of young comedians could use that advice now. Sure. A lot of young comedians just verbally meander, word vomit, goes nowhere. There's no point. There's no ending. It was an invaluable thing that the man taught me, and he was my favorite teacher, and I love this man.
Real question, does he still have the boots?
No, I did not when I saw him, but he still wears cardigans. I thought that he was really smooth. He
just kept his style.
He just had a really cool style for a dude in Oviedo. But
well, that's exciting.
So
July.
I'm booked to do this gig in Oviedo. It's Friday and Saturday, but I'm really excited about it because I've never performed in Oviedo.
You going to tape it?
And good question. I
think you should tape it.
I've been in the habit of recording pretty much everything. That's a really good idea.
Get a couple of the chickens up there, the Oviedo chickens. Add those into the maybe come out dressed like a chicken or something.
We'll have watercress appetizers.
Well, Tom, if you could forgive us in July, please.
I told you we're just going to have to work on it. It's not something that happens immediate.
We will help.
You have to prove it.
We will help you promote the Oviedo show.
I would love to.
Okay, well, like I said, if anybody has heard this podcast, tell me when you come to the show that you heard me on the Tom and Dan show, and I'd love to come in July and promote it.
There you go.
If you return my call,
we will.
We never not will now. My God,
I almost don't want to do it.
Return your call.
I almost don't want to do it.
I know you've got low self-esteem, cashing all those checks.
If my wife called me right now and said she was being stabbed, I would answer your call first. I swear to God. I swear to God, I would. I just be like, you have to fucking die. I have to fix this.
Although the dark comedy in me makes me want to do it again, just so Tom calls me. When he's a musician, I'm like, I'm doing it again.
Make sure you give him a card.
My father told me he named me Tom because he said he never met a Tom he didn't like.
Oh, there's plenty of
I think today he did.
Toms.
Today he did.
Oh, yeah.
Guys, TomRhodes.net, theimprovorlando.com for all of your tickets. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, my friends. It's good to be home in the place that I love and where I plan on living later in life.
Yeah, hopefully us as well. Guys, we'll see you in a matter of minutes on the Friday Free Show.